The terminal buzzed with the usual airport symphony, heels clacking on tile, wheelie bags skimming corners, barista machines hissing steam into the air. The overhead speakers droned flight numbers in a crisp monotone, a voice no one really listened to anymore. Gate 40 decided at the far end, past the Hudson newsstand and under a bank of skylights that filtered late afternoon sun. Like a filter over a lens, passengers drifted by with purpose, business class and baby strollers, earbuds in, eyes fixed on screens or signs. No one looked left or right except one girl. She sat motionless at the edge of the gate, in a white wheelchair, to clean to be, rented and polished to be ignored, yet ignored she was. Her legs were crossed neatly at the ankle, her back straight as a dancer's, though the slight tilt of her head and the twitch in her fingers gave her away. Her name was Juliana Voss, 17 years old, daughter of Richard Voss, CEO of Vostek, the kind of man who owned whole terminals, and still couldn't be bothered to pick up his daughter from one. Juliana wore cream slacks, tailored to perfection, and a cardigan the color of late summer clouds, cashmere, soft as breath, likely worth more than most flights on the board. Her shoes were pale leather flats, spotless, unworn, but the elegance stopped at the surface. Her face was pale, drawn tight around the eyes like someone trying very hard to pretend they weren't about to break. Her hands trembled, barely at first, then more. The paper coffee cup beside her rattled on the tray table. One twitch too many and it slipped. It fell in a slow, almost graceful arc, tipping, spinning, hitting the floor with a dull pop that sent lukewarm liquid pooling across the tiles like a quiet scream. The coffee spread beneath her chair, brown and bitter and ignored. She flinched, looked down, then froze. Her boarding pass fluttered off her lap with a breath of air and skidded just out of reach. Her fingers twitched, her arms moved, but the left one spasmed midway, and she stopped. People walked around her, past her, through her. A woman on a Bluetooth call stepped right over the coffee spill without a glance. A man in a suit and stocks on his tablet as he skirted her wheelchair, like it was a piece of luggage. Not one person slowed, no staff, no security, no humanity, until Zion saw her. He was 7 years old, tugging his grandmother's sleeve and staring wide-eyed at the girl by the window. "Mama," he whispered, stopping short of the mop bucket and turning toward the scene. "Why is no one helping that girl?" Angela Brooks didn't answer at first. She had a mop in one hand, a spray bottle clipped to her belt, and a bag of paper towels slung from her cart. Her uniform read Facility Services, South Terminal, and her pneumatic had been rubbed smooth from use. Her eyes followed Zion's. Finger dot. She saw Juliana, not just the cream clothes, not just the trembling hands. She saw the fixed stare, the pressed lips, the rigid posture of someone who had learned to armor themselves in stillness. She saw the way her body tried to hold dignity against the spread of coffee beneath her. She saw the moment the girl realized no one was coming. Angela's heart moved before her feet did. "Zion," she said quietly, "stay right here, baby." Zion nodded. He didn't speak, but his eyes didn't leave Juliana's frame. Angela moved slowly, not to startle. She crossed the terminal space with calm steps, not drawing attention. When she reached Juliana, she didn't speak right away. She bent, picked up the boarding pass, wiped the edge with the corner of her own sleeve, and held it out, not like it was trash, but like it was something delicate. Juliana turned her head, her eyes sharp, glassy, where he met Angela's for the first time in over an hour. Someone looked directly at her, not around her, not through her. Angela smiled gently and said only, "You dropped something." And in that moment, stillness cracked, not completely, but enough. Juliana blinked, slow. Her lips parted. "Thank you," she whispered. Angela nodded. "Of course, baby." Folks are busy looking at screens to see what's right in front of them. The paper pass trembled between them like a secret, and the terminal, for one quiet second, seemed to pause, just long enough for someone to notice. The girl in cream was not okay. But finally, she wasn't alone. Angela didn't leave after handing Juliana the boarding pass. She stepped to the side, not too close, not looming, and bent down to pick up the spilled coffee cup. She didn't mop it up, not yet. She just held it, a hollow, useless paper shell now, crumpled and still warm with shame. Juliana's eyes flickered to it, then away, as if looking along might unravel the fragile thread holding her upright. Angela saw that too. She'd spent her life reading silence like scripture. "You want me to clean this up?" she asked, voice steady, no pressure in it. Juliana didn't answer. Her mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. Her fingers were twitching again, barely visible. If you weren't watching, Angela was watching. You don't have to speak if you don't want to, Angela said, gentle. But I figured someone ought to ask. That did it. Juliana exhaled, almost angrily, and said, they told me someone would meet me at the gate. Angela nodded slowly, crouching on one knee. And didn't nobody show up? Juliana looked away. Her eyes were rimmed with what looked like makeup at first glance, but up close, it was fatigue. The kind of tired that sat under the skin like bruises. My father's assistant texted me. Said there was a delay, that I should board alone. Angela followed her gaze to the empty boarding door in the distance. No staff hovered. No security waited. No one gave Juliana a second thought. Angela gently placed the coffee cup into the garbage bag hanging from her cart, then reached for the small towel at her waist. She bent and slowly mopped the puddle without a word, not rushed, not performative, just precise. When the floor was dry, she folded the towel in half and stood. Is your chair electric? She asked softly. Juliana blinked, as if the question was unexpected. No. Manual, Angela nodded. So if your hands are shaking, it's hard to move on your own. Juliana's mouth twisted into something like a smile, but not kind. You're very observant. Got to be, Angela said without flinching. People don't always tell you the truth. Sometimes you got to read between what ain't said. Juliana shifted, as if trying to find a more comfortable position. But the wheels snagged slightly on the side of the table again. Her jaw tightened. She didn't ask for help. She didn't even look at Angela this time. Angela stepped back, gave her space. I'm not here to rescue you, sweetheart, she said. I just worked this floor. You look like you dropped more than your boarding pass. That's all. Juliana looked up, finally meeting her eyes again. You don't know me. Angela nodded. Nope, don't need to. Juliana's voice rose a notch, sharp now, defensive. Then why are you still here? Angela didn't blink. Because my grandson saw you before I did, and he asked why no one was helping. And I couldn't answer him with the kind of truth that leaves a mark. Juliana stared at her, words rising, then retreating. From behind the cleaning cart, a small voice piped up. Are you hurt inside? Juliana turned. The boy may be 6 or 7 peeked from behind the handle, his eyes wide and soft and far too honest. Angela gasped. Zion, hush now. No, Juliana said suddenly. Her voice wasn't weak now. It was steady, raw. It's okay. She turned back to the boy. Yes, she said quietly, I think I am. Zion nodded like she just said the most logical thing in the world. Angela moved toward him, whispering a soft apology, but Juliana held up her hand. Wait, please. The terminal felt heavier now, or maybe just quieter. No one else noticed the moment unfolding between the girl in cream and the janitor's grandson. But inside that small square of space near gate 42, the air changed. Juliana adjusted the lap blanket covering her knees. The corner had slipped. Angela saw the trembling fingers try to fix it, and without a word, she reached down and tucked it back in place. Carefully, respectfully, as if it were armor. Juliana didn't protest this time. Then a chime overhead. One single announcement. Final boarding call for Juliana Voss. Gate 7. Private departure. Panic flickered across her face like a light being switched on. No. She breathed. No, not yet. She tried to grab the wheels 1, 2, but her right hand caught, and the left shook too hard. Her chair jerked forward awkwardly, bumping the edge of the table leg again. The tremor spread into her shoulders. She looked around, desperate. No one came. No one even looked. Angela was already moving. I can't ask you, Juliana said, teeth clenched. You didn't, Angela replied. She gripped the back handles of the wheelchair, steady but soft. I offered. Juliana's eyes shone out with tears, but with something much harder to name, something that had been waiting to be seen. Angela's voice dropped to a whisper. You don't have to let people leave you behind just because they're comfortable forgetting. And with that, they turned, one pushing, one breathing, and made their way toward gate 7. Neither of them said another word, but something louder than speech passed between them with every careful step. The terminal corridor leading to gate 7 stretched ahead like a tunnel carved out of air, brightly lit. Cold, indifferent. Each step Angela took behind Juliana's wheelchair felt heavier than the last. Not from weight, but from what she carried. Juliana hadn't said a word since they left gate 42, and Angela hadn't pushed for one. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was loaded, like the pause before thunder. Juliana kept her eyes fixed straight ahead, her hands gripping the arms of her chair as if anchoring herself to something that wouldn't disappear. Her body was composed, but just beneath the surface, Angela could see that same controlled panic she'd seen in women, trying not to cry in hospital hallways or in men trying not to beg at eviction doors. This wasn't just a late flight. It was something else. As they neared the gate, a uniformed attendant stood by the closed door, clipboard in hand, his gaze moving from his watch to the sealed walkway like time was a rope he was already tired of holding. Angela quickened her pace. "Wait," she called out, voice firm. The attendant raised an eyebrow, but didn't budge. "Final call was 5 minutes ago." She missed the window. Juliana's voice cracked, dry and urgent. "You don't understand. That's my father's jet." Angela stopped behind her, brows drawn, then opened the door. The man looked at the wheelchair, then at Angela's uniform, and did what people in power so often do. He dismissed the situation with a practiced kind of politeness that concealed indifference. "I'm sorry, ma'am. Private charters run tight. Once the manifest is confirmed and the doors close, protocol locks down the bridge." Protocol. Angela's voice has steel in it now. She's 17, in a chair, and her name is Juliana Voss. "You really want to explain to Richard Voss that you denied his daughter because of protocol?" The attendant froze. Angela stepped forward, eyes hard. "Go ahead. Call your supervisor. We'll wait." Juliana looked up at her then, like she wasn't sure whether to scream or sob. The man, now flustered, tapped at his radio and muttered something under his breath. Seconds later, the boarding door hissed and cracked open with a hydraulic sigh. Angela leaned in toward Juliana's ear. "Told you we weren't leaving without a fight." Juliana's lips moved faintly, a smile that couldn't quite commit. "I didn't think anyone would fight for me." Angela's hand squeezed the handles of the chair. "Now you know different." They approached the private walkway. An assistant in a navy blazer waited just inside the gate, scrolling through a tablet. She didn't look up when Juliana was rolled in. "Passenger Juliana Voss," she said, tapping the screen. "Confirmed. You're expected in New York within 2 hours. There's a media rep waiting upon landing." Juliana blinked. "Media rep?" The assistant looked up now, confused by the question. "Yes. You're scheduled for a short photo op. On arrival, the Foundation's annual report goes live next week. They want a few human interest shots." Angela stiffened behind the chair. "Wait, she's being used for marketing." The assistant frowned. "I'm sorry, who are you?" Before Angela could answer, Juliana spoke flat and mechanical. "She's just helping." The assistant glanced at the cleaning badge on Angela's chest, her lip curling in something between confusion and dismissal. "Well, you can leave her here. We've got it from this point on." Angela didn't move. Juliana did. "No," she said, voice tight. "She's coming with me, just to the plane." The assistant hesitated. "That's highly unusual." Juliana turned slowly in her chair to face Angela. "Please, I want her there." Angela met her eyes. She didn't nod. She didn't smile. She just moved. Together, they boarded inside the jet. All leather and silence, Juliana sat stiffly. Her fingers trembled again, so subtly it was almost invisible. Angela reached into her pocket, pulled out a tissue, and handed it over. Juliana didn't take it right away. "I wasn't supposed to be on this flight alone," she said quietly. "The plan with my father's assistant would fly with me, but this morning they said there was a change." Angela sat across from her now. "Change?" Juliana nodded. She had another engagement. "I was told I'd be met by staff at the other end." Angela looked around the cabin. No other passengers, no nurse, no aide. "You ever flown alone like this before?" Juliana shook her head. Angela folded her hands in her lap. "You scared?" Juliana paused. "I wasn't. Until now." Angela leaned forward, voice low. "Tell me what this flight means. Why was your father so eager to get you on that plane alone?" Juliana opened her mouth, but before she could answer, Angela's phone buzzed. It was her personal cell, the one only family had. A text blinked across the screen. "A known number. Thank you for assisting. Payment has been processed." "Confirm." Once she's boarded, Angela's blood ran cold. She read the message again, then a third time. The words didn't change. "Payment. Confirm. Assist." She looked up at Juliana sitting in her chair, arms limp at her side, eyes hollow. Angela's voice dropped to a whisper, cold and quiet. Did you know someone was being paid to bring you on this plane? Juliana blinked. What? Angela turned the screen around. That came to me just now. No name, no signature, just confirmation of payment. Juliana stared at the message. Her chest rose, then fell, again. Then her voice broke, so soft it nearly vanished. I thought maybe, I hoped someone came because they cared. Angela didn't speak. She didn't have to, because she had cared long before she knew anything about money. And now the weight of that simple truth settled over them both like a silence that couldn't be ignored. Angela reached out, pressed her hand gently over Juliana's. You're not cargo, she said. And this time, Juliana didn't pull away. The hum of the private jet felt louder now, mechanical, precise, indifferent. It filled the silence between them like a wall neither Juliana nor Angela could quite climb over. Juliana stared at the screen of Angela's phone again, the words still glowing there like a bruise that refused to fade. Payment has been processed. Confirm once she's boarded. She didn't speak. She just sat there, spine rigid, fingers curled inward like they might claw something out of her own skin. Angela watched her carefully, watched the way the girl, who had just found a glimmer of trust, now shrank back into herself, piece by piece. They bought you, Juliana whispered finally. Just like they bought the seat, the silence, the script. Angela exhaled, low and steady. No, baby. They tried to. Doesn't mean I sold. Juliana didn't look up. So you're saying you were hired to get me on the plane, and just decided to care along the way? Angela paused. There was no point in sugarcoating the truth now. I was cleaning the floor. Next thing I know, a woman with a blazer and a badge real smooth talk asked if I'd assist a passenger in need of mobility help. Said I'd get a bonus from the airport union. No name, no details. Just told me it was confidential. I didn't think it was this. Juliana's head fell back against the seat. My father bought your silence before he ever considered my safety. Angela's jaw flexed. I didn't sign silence. I signed presence. That's what I gave you, and I'd do it again. The jet dipped slightly, beginning descent. Outside the window, the New York skyline blinked in the haze, sharp, distant, uncaring. Juliana turned to the glass. He sent me off like I was cargo, scheduled to arrive. Nothing more. Angela leaned forward now. No more soft voice. No. Listen to me. You are not what they try to make you believe. You're not helpless. You're not invisible. And you sure as hell aren't a transaction. Juliana's lip trembled. Then why didn't anyone come for me? Not my friends. Not my father. Not the staff. They all act like I'm still the girl from the magazine spreads, walking, perfect, curated. But now I shake. I fall. I ask for help and people flinch like it's contagious. Angela's voice dropped into a whisper now, calm but unflinching, because they've been trained to see power as perfection. And when you stop being perfect, they stop seeing your power. Juliana blinked. That truth hit like a stone through glass. Angela sat back, folding her hands in her lap. But me, I've been cleaning up after the powerful my whole life. And baby, let me tell you, they're the messiest people of all. The ones with all the money and all the noise. They're the ones who can't handle silence, can't handle stillness, because stillness reveals truth. And you sitting in that chair, refusing to disappear, you terrify them. Juliana looked at her now, really looked. And what she saw wasn't pity. It was gravity. It was witness. The plane touched down with a soft jolt, wheels screeching against the tarmac. The engine slowed. The cabin lights shifted from cool white to warm gold. Juliana exhaled. Her voice, when it came, was hoarse. I'm not ready for cameras. Angela raised an eyebrow. You don't owe them anything. If you want to walk well, roll off this plane and tell the media to choke on their headlines. I'll be the one right behind you holding the door open. Juliana cracked a smile, faint but real. And if I freeze, then I unfreeze you. Angela said, that's how this works. The cabin door opened. The private tarmac outside glowed beneath harsh lights. 3 men in black suits and earpieces stood near a sleek SUV. Behind them, a woman with a camera slung round her neck tapped her phone. Juliana reached for the armrest but paused. What happens if I don't go with them? Angela shrugged. Then you rewrite the damn story. Juliana looked down at her lap. I've never rewritten anything. I've only ever been given scripts. Angela stood, voice quiet but sharp. Then let's break the damn pencil. A shadow stepped into the doorway. One of the suited men. Miss Voss, we're ready. The driver's waiting. Your itinerary has been forwarded to your media team. Juliana turned, and for a moment just a breath Angela thought she'd fold. Go back to nodding, smiling, performing. But then Juliana did something she hadn't done the entire flight. She reached over, unbuckled the safety belt herself, and said clearly, I'll come when I'm ready. The man blinked. I'm sorry. Angela stepped forward. She said she's not ready. Juliana turned her head toward Angela, slow and certain. You coming with me? Angela smirked. You couldn't get rid of me if you tried. Juliana wheeled toward the ramp. The SUV stood in wait like a coffin on wheels. The men began to step forward, but paused. Juliana stopped just short of them. The air was tight. Every movement watched Dot. Then she reached into her bag and pulled out the strawberry candy, the one Zion gave her. She held it up between her fingers. I'm not your headline, she said. I'm not your product, and I'm not your brand. The photographer raised her camera. Angela stepped in front of her, one hand up. Take that photo, she warned, and I swear you'll regret it. The woman lowered the lens, and in the golden light of the open cabin, Juliana Voss turned her chair away from the car, away from the men and back toward the plane. Angela followed. No one stopped them, because no one knew what to do when the script didn't play out. Juliana wheeled back into the jet, her chest rising and falling like waves on glass. She looked up at Angela. I want to go somewhere they don't know my name. Angela smiled. Then let's pick the next gate. And just like that, the girl who was meant to arrive as cargo chose to depart as her own story. They didn't fly toward a schedule. They flew toward a beginning. And every breath that followed belonged to them. Not Voss, not the press, not the plan, just Juliana, and the woman who refused to leave her unseen. The jet door hissed shut behind them, sealing out the handlers of handlers, the photographers, and the silence of the SUV waiting like a corporate hearse. Inside, the cabin was dim now. Lights softened. There were no more voices directing her, no scripts, no itinerary, just the fading echo of Juliana's own defiance ringing in the cabin walls. Angela sat across from her again, arms folded, one foot resting lightly on the edge of her mop bucket, still parked by the emergency exit, like a relic of who she was. Before all this began, Juliana was breathing faster than she realized. Her hands shook again, but not from fear this time, from adrenaline, from the pressure release of someone who had just said no to a life built entirely on yeses. I just walked away, she whispered. You rolled, Angela corrected with a tiny smirk. And you didn't just walk away, you chose. Big difference. Juliana stared at the ceiling. They'll be furious. My father, he'll probably send someone, or worse. He might come. Angela's eyes narrowed slightly. Good, let him. Juliana looked over. You're not scared of him. Angela leaned forward, voice even and low. I've cleaned the floors of billionaires for 27 years, baby. You know what that teaches you. The higher the floor, the more dirt folks try to hide under the rug. Your daddy ain't the first powerful man who used money to cover up cowardice. Juliana blinked. Angela continued. But you just did something he's too afraid to do. What's that? Be seen as you are. No mask, no fix, no filter, just you. That's power, sweetheart. That's real. Juliana looked away, but not to avoid. To gather herself. I don't even know where I'd go, she admitted. If not with them, then what? Hotels don't cater to girls like me. Schools. My old friends disappeared the moment I needed a ramp instead of a runway. My own home has a bedroom I can't even reach without staff. Angela watched her, carefully. You want to come with me? She asked, as casually, as if offering coffee. Juliana's head whipped toward her. What? I mean it. I got a back porch that doesn't judge, a nephew who plays too loud, a kitchen that smells like cornbread on weekends. Ain't glamorous, but it's real. You need real right now. Juliana didn't respond right away, but her chin quivered. Angela leaned in, softened, no pressure. I just didn't want your only choices to be media handlers and empty hotel rooms with no one who gives a damn. A long beat passed. Then Juliana asked, so quietly it was almost inaudible, would I be a burden? Angela smiled. No, you'd be a guest. The weight of that sentence landed with more force than either of them expected. Juliana lowered her gaze. People don't usually invite me. They accommodate me or avoid me. You're the first person in months who's just been here without asking for anything. Angela's voice dropped again, serious now. I didn't do it for credit. I did it because Zion saw you, and when kids see something, it's usually because we're not looking hard enough. Juliana finally, truly smiled, small, wobbly, but honest. A sudden buzz broke the stillness. Angela's phone again. She reached for it slowly, expecting more confirmation codes, more bloodless transactions. But this time, the screen showed a name, Clara Voss. Angela's brow furrowed. You know a Clara? Juliana's entire face changed. My mother. Angela's heart skipped. She passed, didn't she? Juliana nodded. When I was 13, cancer. Why? Angela held up the phone again. The name was still blinking. Message. This is Clara. If this reached you, it means I failed to stop him. But please don't let him disappear her. Juliana gasped. Her breath hissed in her throat. No, that can't be. She died before I was hurt. Angela's hands trembled now. She opened the message fully. It was dated 3 years ago, sent to a list of backup numbers. A chain of emergency contacts only activated if a specific phrase was entered into the system. Juliana read aloud. If he ever uses her pain to protect his image, stop him. She deserves more than pity. She deserves presence. Tears welled in Juliana's eyes instantly. She knew. Angela's voice was thick. Your mother saw this coming. Maybe not the wheelchair, but the erasure, the way your father turns grief into a PR campaign. Juliana clutched her arms, curling slightly inward. She tried to leave me something, and he buried it. Angela stood. We're not letting him bury you, too. Juliana whispered. What do we do? Angela stared out the jet window, toward the distant terminal lights. We go back in the way they fear the most. Juliana tilted her head. How's that? Angela turned toward her, eyes blazing, unbought, unscripted, unapologetic, and somewhere beyond the tarmac and the PR schedules and the private jets, the air felt different. Like a storm that had been held back too long was finally about to break, and for the first time, Juliana didn't brace for impact. She braced for flight. The terminal lobby was quiet again, not empty, never empty, but quiet in that eerie, controlled way that luxury spaces often are, where sound is absorbed by wealth, where appearances are curated and discomfort is outsourced. Angela wheeled Juliana back through the same corridor they had first come down, except now, Juliana didn't look away from the stairs. She didn't flinch from the polished glances or the barely hidden phones lifted to sneak a photo. She looked straight ahead, back, straight, shoulders squared. Angela walked just behind her, not pushing this time, not guiding, just walking beside her, like a shield, like a witness. Waiting near the fountain was Richard Voss. No entourage, no handlers, no security detail. Just him, tailored, black overcoat, silver cufflinks, one hand in his pocket, the other clutching a phone like it was a shield. His expression was unreadable, somewhere between control and calculation. Juliana, he said, coolly, like she was a meeting he had forgotten but still intended to win. She didn't stop. She rolled until she was within 10 feet of him, then rested her hands on her wheels. Angela stood silently at her side, arms folded, watching, measuring. I sent the plane, Richard continued. You were meant to arrive hours ago. The media has. Juliana raised her hand, and he stopped. Angela watched his brow twitch. Richard Voss was not a man who got interrupted, not by board members, not by foreign dignitaries, and never by his daughter. But this wasn't the same daughter he'd left behind. Juliana spoke. Her voice didn't shake. Did you know Mom left a message? Richard blinked, just once, barely. Angela stepped forward, hand already in her jacket pocket. She pulled out her phone and opened the message from Clara. She didn't hand it to him, just read it aloud. If he ever uses her pain to protect his image, stop him. She deserves more than pity. She deserves presence. The air between them froze. Richard's jaw tightened, but he didn't move. Juliana kept going. You used me, my accident, my image. You sold my silence with hospital donations and Instagram filters. You turned me into a symbol for pity, for tragedy, for a redemption arc you never earned. Her words landed like glass shattering against marble. You didn't ask me what I wanted, she continued. You placed me in planes, in speeches, in magazine spreads. And when I started needing help instead of applause, you made sure I was hidden unless my presence helped your profile. Richard took a breath. Juliana, she shook her head. You don't get to speak yet. Angela didn't blink. Juliana's voice lowered. You didn't show up at the hospital. Not once, Dad. Not one single time when I was awake. You sent people, flowers, lawyers. But not you. You couldn't look at me because I was broken. And broken things don't belong in a Voss campaign. Richard looked away for just a moment. That was all Angela needed to see. She leaned in. She's not your accessory. He looked at her now, really looked. And who are you? He asked, like the words tasted sour. Angela took a step forward. I'm the woman who saw her when no one else did. The one who asked why no one helped. The one who gave a damn without a paycheck tied to it. Juliana looked up at her father, breath calm. I'm not going home with you. Richard blinked. What? I'm not going back to your house, your foundation, or your script. Richard's voice sharpened. Don't be ridiculous. Where will you go? Who will care for you? Angela smiled faintly. She's staying with me, for now. Richard's mouth opened, but Juliana cut in. Quieter this time. I don't need a palace. I need a place where I'm not a problem to be solved. Where someone says good morning without a press release attached. Richard's hands curled into fists. Angela moved beside Juliana again, hand resting lightly on the wheelchair. She doesn't need you to understand, she said. She just needs you to let go. A long, tight silence followed. And then, for the first time in 17 years, Richard Voss didn't speak. He turned and walked away. No grand gesture. No final word. Just a man who no longer knew how to control what he couldn't brand. Angela exhaled. You okay? Juliana stared after him. Then turned away. I think so. They stepped back into the flow of the terminal. The same place where Juliana had once sat invisible and trembling now held her like a stage. Zion waited at the end of the hall, Angela's grandson eyes wide, hands in his jacket pockets. When Juliana rolled up to him, he offered her another piece of strawberry candy. I saved one, he said. She took it. This time, her hands didn't tremble. Angela placed her arm around both of them. You ready to go home? She asked. Juliana smiled. I think for the first time in a long time, I already am. And they walked away. No cameras. No staff. No press. Just a girl, a boy, and a woman who changed everything by simply stopping to ask, why isn't anyone helping her? And then doing what so few ever do, she stayed.